guys, it's Joey. So welcome back in 2017. I hope you had a wonderful new year. This is going to be a healing witch video. We're going to be talking about self-care is soul care, self-empowerment for the modern witch. It sounds like a book title. But before we get onto that, just gonna update quickly, say where we're going forward with the channel and so on and so forth. Probably about 5 minutes, so you can skip if you really don't care, but there you go. I have a list. I'm being very organised, very Virgo in the beginning of this video. The rest of the video is going to be me just talking and rambling about the theme for January, which is self-care and soul care. So, this year we're going to attempt to get back on the YouTube Pagan Challenge every week. Towards the end it just sort of petered out, and even when I really wanted to make videos I was not finding the time, and I was like, starting in 2017 I really want to get back on that train because it's really interesting, and seeing all the different viewpoints about certain topics. It helps keep me a little bit more organised. I'm a little bit of a chaos bunny. I don't like very strict you must do this every day, you know, that sort of order. It feels stifling to me and suffocating, and I don't like it. But I would like to make sure we get that done every week, hopefully, as well as hopefully every week remembering to do the Starry Oracle, which is via the Facebook page, and that's engaging with a topic, a theme, an oracle card each week, and I sort of give my feelings on what I think the card is about and how it relates to the week, and I think it helps give a little bit of structure. We're also going to definitely be starting the Shadow Ogham series probably next week. I might start it this week if I have time, today or tomorrow, and it's going to be mostly via the blog, but it will kind of cross over onto YouTube a little bit. And the blog is now a starry hub for the Starryverse, the starry universe. You can find all links on the blog page to everything starry. So from the store, to the Facebook page, to the blog is obviously there, to the Twitter, to the Instagram, to the Pinterest, it's all there. So you can find it all in one easy to find starry hub with little spaceships and no, but you know, I wish it did have little spaceships. That would be awesome. So the Shadow Ogham has been something that I wanted to do last year. It kind of got left by the wayside, and so I've decided that we're going to pick it up now, and it is kind of a shadow time anyway, particularly for me. January is a bit difficult, so I thought that given that that's where my mind space is and dealing with difficult issues anyway, I might as well embrace what I want to do with the Shadow Ogham idea, concept that I birthed into creation, and I want to see it through. So that's those things, and there are a couple of other videos that need to be done. I'm going to do the how to use the spell oils video. I've had more than enough requests for me to sort of make a video and discuss how to use spell oils. I will do it this week or next week, I promise. Fingers crossed, unless, you know, the universe blows up or something. And yeah, please don't, universe, please don't blow up. Right, so today's witchy healing witch video is self-care is soul care, which is the theme for me for January, and that will pop up on the blog. It will pop up on the Facebook page. There's going to be all sorts of different tools talking about, you know, what self-care actually is and how it's soul care, and helpful links, helpful articles that I've written and intend to write and have in my little diary that Sterling sent me that I'm going to do, and spell work to help with that, and so on and so forth. And thinking about that, I just need to stretch over here 1 minute. Excuse me, take a look at that. That's very interesting behind me. Woo! Right, so I actually pulled 3 oracle cards to help me with this, and then left them out of reach. So yeah, we're doing well already. So I'm going to pop those there so I don't forget them. So what do I mean by self-care is soul care, self-empowerment, and from a witch perspective or a soul perspective. Why are we talking about it? That sort of thing. And I've also got a new product to feature in a little bit, which it's kind of what's going on in my universe right now. So I decided to create a new spell votive that goes with the spell oil that I love, and I will feature those in a little bit when we talk a little bit more about the empowerment part. So, as I said on the Facebook page this morning, when I first sort of announced the soul care, something that has bothered me for a very, very long time, and I've possibly touched on it in the past, is the whole mentality around this time of year that December is kind of like excess and splurging and binging, and then January is kind of purging, and it's kind of like this really sneaky well, I don't think it's particularly sneaky, but it is effective marketing ploy that sells a whole ton of excess in December, and there's actually been news articles that people are like in more debt this year than they have been in a long time. Like credit is at an all-time high again. And then in January you have this marketing ploy of you need to go to the gym, you need to have this healthy eating plan, you need to join this fitness club, blah blah blah, and it's basically all underpinned by money. But what really irritates me, I mean, I find that kind of irritating in itself, but what really irritates me is the binge purge mechanic, because it is seriously unhealthy. It's like, well, it's absolutely fine to completely binge as long as you're going to then purge, and that kind of to me encourages not only eating disorders, which is obviously where the main focus is in January for a lot of people, but it also creates this really unhealthy energy imbalance, which is that going from one extreme to the other. And I think it kind of irritates me so much, because it's actually like the least healthy thing that you can do for yourself, and it actually encourages a negative self-image that is so detached from soul and sense of self that it gets to me on a kind of like on a spiritual, emotional level. It kind of gives me the icks and squicks, if you like, because the focus is obviously physical for the most part. It's like, oh, well, you've obviously put some weight on over Christmas, so time to... And it's like... And there's been an awful lot in the online social media lately, of this kind of trend of judging people by what they look like, and like videos being made where people are rated on their looks. And there was a show when I was growing up, and I can't remember what it was, and there was a website as well which was hotornot.com, and that was happening when I was a teenager, and I remember how damaging it was then, and I'm seeing like a resurgence of that now, because it kind of went away a little bit, and then it's now suddenly fashionable again to be like, are you skinny, thick, or curvy, or fat, or what? And it's like, you know what, guys, you like, really, firstly, nobody has the right to like be placing judgment on you. And are you Brad Pitt? Are you a supermodel? No. Then come on. And even if you were a supermodel, I think that's a really unhealthy stereotype for young girls to look up to, because it's basically unobtainable and not representative of the majority of women's bodies. If you're very naturally slender, then that's all good and well. I'm not going to bash either side of this fence, because people get very, very sensitive on both sides. Like, oh, if you say curvy is beautiful, then you're against naturally slim people, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of this kind of value judgment being placed on what someone else thinks of how we look, and it's so damaging on an emotional level, like on a mental level, and on a spiritual level, that I can't even begin to express how much I just want to talk to young, impressionable people, and even older impressionable people. But I think, you know, it hits the younger adolescents harder, and say, you know, it's really, at the end of the day, you have to be okay with who you are, and whoever these people are that are telling you what you look like is this, that, or the other, they have no right. At the end of the day, the only person who can love you and really, really love you for who you are is primarily you. And once you are okay with who you are, then you can become empowered. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody that they cannot self-improve if they want to. Now, me, I need to self-improve. I need to lose weight. So I'm not going to tell anybody that they can or can't do anything. And that's what I think the point is, that this sort of cycle of value judgment on a person's physicality is firstly shallow, and secondly damaging, and it kind of promotes what all that matters is what's on the outside. That was the ice cream music, van music. In December. I don't know if you can see out here, it's like really sunny and really warm in the middle of December, but there you go, side note. We've just got completely distracted by the ice cream truck van, which is kind of ironic, going, I'm being healthy now. So self-improvement has to come from a place of, I want to feel better about myself, I want to feel healthier within myself, I want more energy, I want to sleep better, I want to become friends with my body. And I think that can be hand in hand with a sort of a spiritual mentality, which is obviously the focus of what we're looking at here, because self-care is soul care. And I think you have to do these things because it makes you feel better. It makes you feel good. And it's not going to be about what another person has told you should look like, what you think you should look like, or kind of like that negative self-criticism thing that a lot of us engage in way too readily and way too harshly on ourselves. And it can escalate, it can cause people to harm themselves, starve themselves, it can cause eating disorders and associated disorders that go with that, and that is always very, very damaging towards health. And the other thing that I don't think a lot of people really mention is kind of like, when these healthy bodies are being portrayed, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to look like what the adverts on the gym look like, because they tend to use the very, very slender but slightly more toned physique, and that's not realistic. For a lot of women, being healthy doesn't mean being that, and you have to kind of get to know your body on a soul level. So you have to understand what works for you, what makes you feel better. There are obviously general rules that work for everybody. Drinking lots of water works for everybody. But you've got to find a balance with your own physique, your own equilibrium, if you want to get sort of physically healthy on a soul level as well. Now, for me, that means realizing and stopping eating things which basically trigger IBS. They make my whole body crash. They make me feel very, very tired, very, very down, very, very sluggish, and it kind of feels like being poisoned. And wheat is right up there for something that really triggers it. And I tell you, getting rid of wheat out of your diet, wheat gluten out of your diet, is one of the most irritating things on the face of the planet. I really don't like having to do it, because it sneaks into all sorts of things, and then you just sat there like... And basically, I really don't like gluten-free breads, and I miss bread so badly, but what are you going to do? Do you want to feel really icky and horrible and your soul going... Bleh? Or do you want to feel better and more upbeat and more energetic and so on and so forth? So that is the kind of decision that you have to make based on how it makes you feel, rather than other people judging you on what you look like. And that is coming from a place of soul, of wholeness, rather than allowing a broken self-image or a broken way that the society runs itself in order to get money out of you affect who you are and who you want to become. You know, and you can tie this into becoming the best version of yourself, which is something we talk about a lot on the channel. And it's really about self-evaluation without self-mutilation. I think it is basically the core of what it means to look after oneself from a place of soul. Because if you are self-mutilating on any level, it doesn't have to be like on a physical level, it can be an emotional and a spiritual and a mental level. You're basically like self-harming on some level. Oh, I'll never be good enough. Oh, I'll never be thin enough. You know, all those negative things that we tell ourselves are actually self-mutilation and do us a lot of harm. So instead, we need to be looking at self-empowerment. And I talked a little bit on the Facebook page about one idea, which was, instead of thinking you can completely change your everything overnight and, oh, I can start going to the gym, blah, 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 blah. It's changing small things until they become regular, normal. So you get into the habit of not having that cake that you were having every weekend, or you get into the habit of eating more fruit instead of that. And as you slowly adjust, your body gets used to it and you slowly get there. And that is more of a change that I think is lasting, because people sort of mock, you know, the whole setting intentions, New Year's resolutions thing in January, because so many people don't stick to it. And the reason that so many people don't stick to it is there's this overwhelming sort of pressure to do something in January to overhaul oneself, and then no support throughout the rest of the year to do that. So people are like, oh yeah, join the gym, and as soon as they've got your membership fee, they don't care, sort of thing, you know. And whereas when it's looking at it from a place of soul, it's like, okay, I need to elevate my game, I need to elevate my life, I need to make changes. So I need to make changes that I can embrace on a kind of an excited level, you know, and sort of line them up so it's a mental excitement, an emotional excitement, a physical excitement. I've got to be excited about what I'm doing, I've got to enjoy what I'm doing on some level, because otherwise I'm not going to stick to it. If I hate it, I'm not going to stick to it. And that means finding forms of exercise that you enjoy, dancing around your kitchen if needs be, just going for walks in nature if needs be, just doing a little bit more and increasing and increasing and increasing as your weight goes down, if it's a physical weight thing. It might not be. It might be something to do with bad habits, mindsets. I've been very conscious this January, because January is a very difficult emotional trigger time for me. And I mean trigger, I don't mean like, you know, like we've had all this debate recently that people use trigger too much. I mean it when I say that January can be a really bad trigger time for me, and can trigger anxiety and flashbacks and nightmares. And the nightmares are already here because it's January, which is thrilling. But what I'm doing is trying to take things from a positive mindset and look for the positivity in each situation. And when situations can't be resolved or can't be seen in a positive light, I sort of get to the point where I'm like, what, did I give it my all? If I gave it my all, then okay, and leave and walk away. And that's kind of like one of these slow changes in mindset, by doing little things every day and focusing on some really positive things. So today I've noticed we have hit 7,000 subbies on the YouTube channel, which is amazing. I actually had a lady stop me in the village today, which is so unusual. And and tell me that my hair looked awesome, because when the sun was coming through it, it looked like it was on fire, and she was so impressed. And I just thought that was such a lovely thing, because it's not often that women stop each other and compliment each other, especially in this society we live in, which is basically like judge each other, put each other down, and that's unfortunately the common thread. So for a woman to stop me and tell me that was like really positive, and I was like, use that as your positive focus today, because that is something really lovely, and that's something we can all do, you know, compliment each other a little bit more, and not from a place of falsehood either, because that makes me sick. But if something really impresses you, and really you think somebody deserves a compliment for that, then that's something that you should do from a place of honesty. And that is empowering oneself as well as empowering other people, because you're taking on a positivity, a soul force, a energy for goodness, and kind of passing that on, you know, pass it forward. Now, before I move on to self-empowerment and the votive and everything, before I get to that point, there is an unfortunate tendency, and I've seen it rearing its head again, to express the idea that somebody is strong if they present outwardly that they are happy, upbeat, complimenting other people, positive, even if inside they're screaming and crying and going home at the end of the day, and you know they're in pieces. And those memes are everywhere again, promoting this as an idea of strength, and I just want to slam my head into a wall every time I see it. I'm like, that isn't strength. To deny one's feelings, to bury them deep down, to go home and look in the mirror and cry, but present an outward face of everything's fine to the rest of the world, that's not strength. That's telling somebody that their emotional state isn't valid. That's telling somebody, which is I guess the flip side of the whole of this video, which is to disregard other people telling you that your emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever it might be, expression isn't valid. Like, that's not something which we should be engaging in on any level, because it's not spiritual, it's not good for humanity, it's not good as a person on any level to tell another individual that they're stronger for not engaging with their emotions, that they're stronger if they have lost all the weight and get down to a skinny little stick figure rather than what's good for them and good for their body. And it drives me kind of nuts, because like I said, I see these memes, I see these videos of people, well, are you hot or are you not? And I'm like, really? Like, how about who are they as an individual? How about what they've accomplished as a person? How about their beautiful soul, their beautiful spirit, the things they create, the things they bring to this world? How about we focus on those things rather than what they look like in a bikini, for goodness sake? And it happens to guys as well, so you know, let's not say it just happens to young women, because it happens to all women and it happens to guys as well. I think it's more pronounced with females, the female judgment, but it definitely happens to guys as well. So, self-empowerment. So I picked 3 oracle cards, which we'll do first. And I'm going to talk about things you can do on a spiritual, magical level as well. This I'm going to touch on because we're going to have more videos on that. We'll probably have a spell work video at least. But I picked 3 cards from the Plant Ally deck by Lisa McLaughlin. And this deck recently has been like my go-to. It's very, very interesting. There's been kind of like this shift over to plant energies recently. And I've always loved this deck. But there we go. So the first one is acceptance. And this is red clover. Now the reason I picked 3 is that basically the Plant Ally cards resonate around the energy of connecting a theme, an idea, a concept to a particular plant energy deva. And that means that because we've picked 3, that means there are 3 suggested plants, flowers, that you can then use in your practice to then go forth if you wish to like engage with some plants straight off the bat without waiting for me to make a video about it. So this is red clover. Reflect and see the gifts in your current situation, forgive yourself and others so you can embrace the complex quilt of your life. And start a gratitude journal is a suggestion here. I would take that a step further. I would suggest not necessarily just a gratitude journal, but a self-love journal, a congratulatory journal. So something I did today that I'm really positive about, something that I'm pleased about, something that I'm grateful for, and keep all of that in mind. But at the same time, you're not going to be beating yourself up for difficult days, for down days, for sad emotions, or if you slipped up on whatever it is, because you just have to get in the habit of good soul care, good self-care. The second one is nourishment, which, as you can probably tell, is nettle. Seek the environments that help clear you of help to clear your thinking, so you can respond to unhealthy internal, external situations in a positive way. Now, I'm not one to say that you have to be positive all the time in how you react to situations, because I don't believe in that mindset. I think that's a negative side of kind of a new agey thing. You're not allowed to feel certain emotions. I find that bollocks, basically, and I think that all emotions are valid and need to be. Hi. We've got spirits moving things about. Or was it me? No, it's not me. If you heard a jingle, something moved over there. I don't think that any emotions are negative. And I think that we have these emotions for a reason. And it's only when we focus and dwell on the negative emotions for too long and get kind of poisoned by them that they become a negative issue. But here, nourishment, self-nourishment, and helping to get yourself to a state where you're thinking about situations from a place of soul is key. And then finally is inner beauty, and this is jasmine. Allow yourself to experience self-compassion on those days when you feel ugly or resentful. So it's basically being compassionate to yourself, looking after yourself, taking care of yourself, which is kind of the whole point of the video. So those 3 cards come from the Plant Alley Oracle deck and are really, really useful as images or focal points, as well as the 3 herbs to really give a good focus. And if you wanted to do a focus meditation on something, these would be a good place. Or you could just find a similar image that you have that helps you with that kind of mindset that you can then focus on. Perhaps when you're feeling down, or things are getting to you and you can't find your place of soul care, self-care, and you need a little help. So those are kind of a visual aid to give you a focus and help you just, ground and get calm with it. So for me, I started working on some more witching hour stuff. So this is the witching hour spell oil, which is already on the store, and this is one of my favorites, and it smells so good. It smells so good. I'm going to sniff it because I can. Oh, so good. And the votive smells really good as well, actually. So the witching hour spell oil is, the witching hour is said to be a mystical time of night when witches and magical creatures are at their most powerful, and so the witching hour spell oil seeks to empower you to your fullest magical potential. This spell oil seems to shape shift and colour change as you swirl among its depths, revealing hidden beauty and mystery. Staring into the witching hour spell oil reminds me of staring into a witch's cauldron and having the essence of magic staring right back at you. Use this beautiful oil for rituals and spells involving personal empowerment, I haven't heard that in weeks, and I make a video and it's back. Releasing your magical and mundane potential, reclaiming the excitement of your witch path after difficult times, and connecting to the essence of magic wherever you are. And it features the quote from Roald Dahl, and above all, watch with glittering eyes the whole world around you, because the greatest secrets are hidden in the most unlikely places. Those who don't believe in magic will never find it. Push through creative blocks, stagnant energies, and witchy lethargy with this incredible spell oil. as it reminds you of the magical excitement of witchy existence. And then there's a votive, which was new and will be on the store soon. You're staying with me. It smells so good. Oh, it smells so good for that theme as well. And the reason that I show these and bring it up is because this is kind of where the mindset of my energies are right now, which is an idea of self-empowerment and taking that to a witchy space and taking it to a spiritual place. And I think that self-empowerment goes hand in hand with the idea of soul care and spiritual care and self-care and self-love. Self-empowerment is an important step along this road of soul care, and I think because what I've been talking about in a lot of the video is actually how outside influence seek quite actively in some cases to disempower us as individuals, to make us feel low about ourselves, so we consume, so we throw our money into whatever it is that we think will make us feel better about ourselves, and it's not necessarily the answer. It can be. On the flip side of this, I'm not one of these people that will tell you that you must reject all materialism in order to be a spiritual person, because I think that's a value judgment of egotists basically. It's like you don't get to tell an individual what helps them. It's like you don't get to tell somebody who has mental health issues whether or not they should be on medication. And this is kind of a good crossover point actually that I saw recently, is that rejecting those spiritual memes which say this is therapy and it's a picture of nature, and this is control and it's a picture of medication. You don't get to tell people what helps them. You don't get to. It's an individual journey for empowerment and self-healing, and this is true on many levels. Like, you don't get to tell an individual what body type is correct for them. You don't get to tell somebody how much they should weigh. You don't get to tell somebody if they're hot or not, because if you're laying down that value judgment on somebody, there's something you need to be looking at in the mirror. Because why do you need to externally judge people based on their physical appearance? Why? What difference does it make to you, to your life, really? And self-empowerment is a very highly unique, highly personal journey, and one that we can talk about together and express about together, and we can sort of reject certain things which we feel are completely unhealthy for everybody, like telling people what they should look like and what they should weigh and all that jazz. But basically, at the very core of what I feel about this is it's something hinging on our soul, and our soul is unique. You know, you're born original, and because of that, nobody can tell you, not me, not anybody, no gurus, no whatever, the answer. There is no one answer to self-care and soul care. All we can do is kind of try and support one another as best we can, try and empathize with each other the best that we can, and just walk our own roads, but kind of keep our hands outstretched and listen and be compassionate and empathetic as much as we can. So that's it for this particular video. There's going to be a few more around this topic. We'll maybe look at some spell work, maybe look at some meditation work, that sort of thing, going forward. Again, it will cross over onto the blog a bit as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and many blessings.